of the City of Houston's report. Under the general fund, the property tax decreased by $9.1 million due to lower than anticipated delinquent tax collections. And let me just, I'm going to read this statement because I think it's important, and it's a little lengthy, but I want to include this in this discussion here instead of waiting for the mayor's report. Property tax refunds for prior year taxes associated with litigation continue to rise with settlements of multi-year commercial suits, specifically in Class A commercial properties. With increasing valuations, commercial property owners have been quick to appeal to district court in record numbers. This has and will continue to cause a record volume of lawsuits. Yearly to date, refunds as of February are $32.4 million, thus resulting in a lower net collection for property taxes. This issue has accelerated greatly because of the large increases in property values over the past 3 years. However, the underlying problem in uniform law with respect to appraisals, with equal and uniform, a property owner utilizes the appraisal district's estimates of market values for other comparable properties and then adjusts that value, typically downward, for specific characteristics of their property. The owner is then taxed at the median appraisal value for the group of properties they have chosen. It is this last element, taxing at the statistical median, that is giving tax breaks to commercial properties at the expense of homeowners who are at least able to afford it. Further, every reduced appraisal then lowers the median, resulting in a spiral downward of commercial property values. A commercial property owner of a Class A building that has a market value above the median is only taxed at the lower median value of all comparable properties, while homeowners whose market values may be equal to or less than a median value are taxed at the full market value of their property. Imagine if people paid the federal income tax based on the national median income. Thus, earning above the national median income, those earning above the national median income would pay less taxes, and those earning less would pay more. That is the situation in front of us. This situation is not only unfair to the majority of taxpayers, it also makes it difficult to budget effectively and impossible to fully service the needs of the fastest growing metropolitan area in the country. While I know there are strong interests behind maintaining the status quo, I will again ask the legislature to remedy this situation. It cannot continue, and we cannot budget this way. With all the conversation around pensions and unfunded liability, commercial property owners in the Class A cannot continue to drive this market. Taxes from hardworking homeowners should not effectively subsidize wealthy commercial property owners. This situation must change, and I will look for support from my friends on both sides of the aisle to fix it. We lowered the property tax rates at the beginning of the fiscal year. These lawsuits are coming in on the back end of the year. And so what has happened, we lowered the tax rate at the beginning, and since that time, we are having to refund $32 million. And that's coming on the back end. You cannot budget this way. And every time commercial owners win in court and they lower the median, then it simply creates a spiraling effect, and other commercial owners are doing the same. And literally, there are hundreds of lawsuits in this system. And the people who pick up the slack are residential property owners. They are the homeowners who are picking up the slack. And I'm calling on the Greater Houston Partnership and others to join with me in asking the legislature to fix this problem, because it is killing us, and it's certainly killing residential homeowners. Okay? It's not changing. And the lawsuits are there. And so let me just start off by asking, what is the continuing impact of this situation on our financial
Well, like you said, it's generated $32 million now of the gap or of a gap this year. If you look at it another way, you could say this month, where we were up $2.4 million, in large part because of expenditure reductions, we would have been up about $11.5 million in the general fund had it not been for these refunds. And so, as you said, it continues to impact us, and given that we already set the tax rate, it just continues to, I guess, drain fund balance that we would have, going into 17 and going into 18, where the volume of refunds not where they're at today.
Well, in effect, it's a double hit. Last year, you all lowered the tax rate based on the revenue cap. You lowered the tax rate. And had we known then that we were going to be down another $32 million, I don't think you would have lowered the tax rate that low. So you lowered it based on the revenue cap, and in the same year, we're losing an additional $32 million because of these lawsuits. You cannot budget that way. You can't. And the people who are going to pick up the slack are the homeowners. The homeowners are the ones who are going to pay the bill. And so to me, this is an issue that the Greater Houston Partnership and others need to take a keen interest in. But I'm not reading about it in the newspapers. I'm not hearing about it on the television stations. Nobody is writing about that. I guess it's okay for commercial property owners to go to lawsuit with their nice lawyers and drive our system. But I'm not reading about it. It's not making the headlines. It's not making the headlines. So what do we say? But everybody, we were saying to police and fire, municipal workers, you all need to change your system. You're costing the city. But when these commercial owners are benefiting from the courthouse, everybody is quiet. It's okay. The system must change. It is inequitable and it is unfair. Okay.
To the mayor's comments, it seemed like some years ago in the last recession, a large bank, $40 billion holding company, took about 500 Texans and just ran over them with the loans. I learned from personal experience that if you have bigger, nastier lawyers that really don't deal in the truth because they're protecting the bank, that they can beat you. Even though you have proof and you have the truth, they can beat you. I'd make a suggestion, Mayor, that we appeal these appraisals and hire the nastiest Houston lawyers that you can find. Because if you have bigger and tougher lawyers, you can win these. You say, well, that costs money, Jack. If it's the appraisal district that's defending these, it would behoove the city of Houston to take 10% of that $32 million, add to their lawyers, go to the Greater Houston Partnership, get a discount. But this city has plenty of mean, nasty lawyers. And don't we?
I wouldn't know any.
Okay. But don't you think that these needs to be challenged, not only presently, but in the future, because they'll continue. And I don't think we're hurting Houstonians. I think a lot of these Class A buildings are owned by people outside of this city and corporations and $40 billion holding corporations. I think we need to go to war because this is going to cripple the city. We're trying to solve a budget gap, but if it's getting bigger and bigger, there's going to be hundreds of layoffs instead of 50.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Mayor, let me just say the presentation you made sort of brought tears to my body, and it's very scary. The future potential picture of the city of Houston's financial situation, and is real. What you were saying is real. I look forward to have you to work with Governor Abbott and the other majority leaders in the state legislature to see if this can be addressed. A couple of things I want to ask you. One, Mayor, have you had a chance to meet with the downtown business, group to present the case? Because you have a way of explaining your case, and people kind of follow that. I think that's Tammy Bencourt's group, if I'm not mistaken, just to kind of present the case. First question. Second question, commercial property owners, just like a lot of residentials, I would assume, and I'm with the residential, I'm just throwing out information, let's be clear about that. They typically go out and protest their appraisals, which brings me to this question. From a processing perspective, how does this, the county tax assessor, who I know is not our friend from my perspective, play a role in addressing this issue?
I think on this issue, I think there's genuine concern by all of the governmental entities.
In particular, this tax assessor.
Right, because I mean, centrally, and look, nobody wants to pay more than they should.
Yeah,
I got
and that's what I'm saying. I understand they're doing it, and they have the they don't have the best lawyers like Brian Sky Eagle, who went to Thurgood Marshall, and others that are there representing them. But I think one of my colleagues, Jack Christie, made reference that this is very serious, and I think we need to look at how we can assist with residential properties, getting them more engaged in addressing this issue, because the commercial is doing it, and they're protesting, and that's probably why that gap is there. But if you, Mayor, and I have enough confidence in you, I really do, can sit down with the business community, I think, in addition to the partnership, I think you can get a buy-in.
Well, they have to invite us to the table.
Okay.
I've invited them to my table.
Okay.
But I can't.
You have some oxtails at your table?
I've not been invited to their table.
Okay.
Because I think what's important to recognize is that when commercial property owners in that A class, I mean, they can hire the lawyers, and when they are going out and they're getting the comparables in the area, and it's the medium, and it drives their values down, then everybody else does the same thing, and it continues to spiral.
Yeah.
They're taking advantage of a legal loophole. Okay, it's a loophole, and they're jumping through it. For the average homeowner, certainly they can question if their appraisals are going up too high, and they can bring them down, let's say 10%. But imagine your property values going down 10%, but a commercial property value going down 30%, or even just 10%. That is significant. They are not equal. They're not equal. And so, I think what the private sector likes certainty. I think we all can agree when we're talking about the private sector, what they will tell the government all the time is that we want certainty. We want to know what the rules are. Okay, we want predictability. Well, I think for our purposes in budgeting, we also need certainty.
Absolutely.
We also need predictability. And when everything is being driven by the courthouse, you cannot have certainty.
Mayor, let me just say this, and again, before my time runs out, I have enough confidence in you. I think everybody from the commercial perspective and the residential looking for a win, and that's the end game. I get that, but I have enough confidence in you meeting with the group and coming up with something that I think is a win-win for everybody.
We're going to continue to work on it. Again, I think everybody has to participate if we are going to make this system work. And just like I'm having intense conversation with firefighters and police officers, I think the conversations need to be with everyone, all of the key stakeholders in this situation, and that's what I shall attempt to do. So thank you very much, though, Councilman.
Caution, and that we need to look at all the different consequences and make sure that there are no bad consequences from our action. You got to keep in mind that these so-called rich landlords, they actually are not the one who are paying the taxes. They own the building, they lease it out to the tenants, and it's actually these small business owners that end up paying the taxes. These landlords simply would just pass on whatever tax money that we have increased onto their tenants. And so small mom and pop stores that are out there trying to make a living, trying to support their family, are just in dire need as the property or the homeowners are. You know, if you own a house and you're renting it out and that property taxes increase, you simply going to pass on that tax increase to your tenants. You're not really paying it. So we need to be really cautious in how we approach this. I agree with you that it needs to be fair and equitable, but we need to tighten up all loose ends and making sure that whatever we approach and whatever we put out there, that we're really also protecting the small business owners as well as the homeowners.
So I don't want to be unfair to anybody. All I'm asking for is just some certainty.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Councilmember Travis.
Thank you, Mayor. I must also echo Dr. Lee's remarks, and I understand what you're saying, but let me add a few to this. Number one, every commercial lease agreement I've ever seen, I've ever signed, has had a pass-through on taxes as well as other costs. It is the commercial landlord's responsibility to keep those as low as possible. I audit those every year, and I make sure that they do. If he or she or the company itself does not, I would be in court suing them because they're not watching out for my best interest. We all think about these commercial buildings as being these 60-story buildings downtown. We don't think about the commercial buildings being the 3 or 4 stories out there where a lot of, and I say this, there are a lot of I moved mine from the gallery on Post Oak all the way over to Willcrest. Saved myself $22,000 a month in rent, number one. But number two, it's closer to my house. It's nice. But everybody there is a small business person, and they live in the community, and they are residents themselves. They pay the property taxes on their residentials, but they're also paying the property taxes on the commercial. I know I pay my fair share of the property taxes on that commercial building because it's passed through to me. And everybody in there does as well. So when we're talking about sticking it to the man, so to speak, it's here, and it's all those little businessmen that are out there, because that's who gets stuck with it. It always rolls downhill. It always, you need to be thinking about that. And I understand about the uncertainty of it. I would like us to be able to set aside, since we should know with some certainty that every year we have about X number of dollars that's always contested, perhaps we build that into the budget. But I don't want to sit there and tell people they can't have access to the courts. I don't want to deny anybody access to the courts. If they feel they've been wronged, they have a right to go there and seek redress. And if they are correct, they'll win. If they are incorrect, they will lose. But I want to make sure we keep our courts open to everybody and not just the little man or the big man. I want it to be for everybody. So I'm concerned about this. And I do understand where you're coming from, but you have to understand where I'm coming from in the sense that I am a small businessman. And everybody in my building with me is a small businessman. And they will bear the brunt of this. If the taxes go up, my costs will go up. And then that'll be less than I want to spend on sales elsewhere within the city because I have to budget in my own budget.
Councilman Travis, no one is talking about increasing your taxes.
Well, if
but I think there's a difference between paying what is equitable and going to the lawsuit and taking advantage of a loophole and enforcing your cost on everybody else. There is a difference. I too was a small business owner, and I too was paying that rent for 32 years, downtown, for 32 years. The only point that I'm making is that you explain it to some homeowners in your district why the homeowner should be paying more because some commercial owner went to the courthouse and paying less.
My homeowners in my district are the business owners in my building.
Then let me switch from your district.
Well,
let me take somebody else's district.
But let me say this,
because your district is an opportunity district.
Well, no, let me say this, because my district is very diverse. And everybody always thinks my district is this. My district has a lot of diversity in it. And one of the things I know is that a lot of the people that are in my district, some of them are my employees. And the less money I actually have, because I have to pay higher taxes, is less money I can pay my employees. There are budgets all around, not just the city budget, but every business has a budget. And every budget takes into account what it can pay its employees. And that's just the way it goes. So when you take from over here or have to pay more over here, I'm going to end up paying less over here. Because, again, like the city, I can't print money. I've got to live within my budget. And that's all I'm saying is when we're doing this, we got to make sure that we understand we're not just getting it to the commercial owners who live outside the city. We're talking about the residents, the people that own businesses within the city that will pay that price and their employees. It all gets passed down. And, we may not like that, but that's just the way the economics work.
Councilman Travis, they're taking advantage of a loophole. It's a legislative loophole. That's what they're doing. They're jumping through a loophole that was never intended.
Well,
And to argue that the loophole should not be closed, which forces the burden on residential owners throughout the city. Now, if that's your position, everyone is entitled to their position.
sure.
But let me tell you, when I'm talking about shared sacrifice, it becomes very difficult for me to be telling firefighters and police officers to cut their retirement benefits, and other folk are jumping through loopholes. And they are the ones who are out here sacrificing their lives every single day. Now, that's the only point that I'm making. If I'm talking about shared sacrifice, everybody needs to be willing to sacrifice. And people cannot say because I am benefiting or because it's taking money from me, I don't want to participate. When a police officer and a firefighter, we're asking them to cut their benefits in order for everybody else to benefit. And so I just simply want, for me, I want to be in a position that if I'm asking a police officer or a firefighter, municipal worker to give, that everyone is being asked to share in that burden as well. I think that's only fair. Now, that's my position, but I certainly respect anybody who may have a contrary point of view.
Is he finished?
I'm fine for now.
All right.
We'll talk more. Thank you.
Okay.